My name is Erich Schoeman. I'm a clinical psychologist with Matters of the Soul. Losing a spouse is one of the most difficult experiences that you can have in this life here on earth. Losing a spouse has many effects on you. Let's look at some of the impact that it has on your psychology and even faith, and then some of the things that you can do from a psychological basis and from a Christian perspective. When we go through the experience of losing a spouse, it is usually profound. It can increase the risk of experiencing depression and anxiety and even cause some physical health issues because we have a lot of stress during those times. There's a lot of loneliness that can be experienced, and it really hits very hard. I think it is one of the most impactful things because you spend a majority of your life with a spouse. You weave together your lives in physical, emotional, relational, your finances, all of those things are weaved together. And then when you lose that spouse, it really rips that out and it leaves like almost half a person. It is hard. Even the Bible reminds us, if we look at some of the people like Jacob who lost his wife, he buried her, but he grieved the loss. It really has a huge effect. It can leave you with a lot of questions, spiritual questions, such as God's presence in your life or why this happened. Many a time times it happens unexpectedly. If it happens after 60 or 50 years of marriage, one would expect it, but it is still very impactful because you spent your life with that person. Some people lose their spouse after a few weeks after marriage or a few months or years. It it does not really matter always how long it's been because you've lost someone that you've given your life to. I've been married for almost 25 years now, and I haven't personally lost a spouse. But I've worked with so many people who's gone through this, and indeed, it is hard. When we go through loss, we tend to oscillate between various places. Some people become more focused on doing things, and some people are struck by the huge effect of the fee on their feelings. And we grieve, and it goes like a wave up and down. It moves you. And in Ecclesiastes, it says there's a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time for this, a time for that. So as you lose a spouse, you also go through a time of weeping. And it usually also has an impact on your finances. It affects your finances because suddenly you've lost somebody that could be an income provider. Some people say no, they've lost their best friend and they've lost somebody that they've shared their most intimate areas of their lives with. They've shared their thoughts. They've lost a support. So when you go through this, it is normal to feel like life's ended or life seems so vague and it seems so meaningless sometimes, or it just has such a huge effect because you've lost the future that you expected. And now suddenly it brings you to a place where you have to readjust and adapt yourself to this new sudden change. Sometimes it's been a cancer journey or an illness journey for a few years. And then you might feel relief, but also guilt because you feel relieved. But you're also glad the person's been released from their pain. But you're also so sad that they are not here. But you might also be happy that they are with the Lord and that they are now free. So you can see it can be a mixed bag of experiences. So when we go through losing, especially a spouse, it's important to remember that there are things that you can remind yourself. That is, you can remind yourself of the time that you had together, how good it was, the times of intimacy and joy that you spent together. If there was unfinished business between you, you can resolve that in therapy and with the Lord. Sometimes there might be a need to forgive yourself or others, and that would also bring release. But it's important to, when you've lost a spouse, to give yourself time to grieve. It might take up to a few years, 2 years even, to just adjust to the current new status quo, so that you can get to a place where you can start to reach out to those around you and see new possibilities for the future. You know, if you go through this time of loss, sometimes it might seem like life won't be worth living anymore. And it might seem like you will never be able to love again. And at this point, especially right after the loss, this is normal. When you cry, you weep, you feel like life is gray, those experiences can be expected. But what we found is that seasons change, and that during this time, speak about your feelings to close friends. Speak to those people who are near you, to people you trust. Pour out your heart in prayer to the Lord. Dive into the scripture. Try to find what the word says. How does God respond during these times? We know that He says He's near the brokenhearted and that He is a God of sympathy. He understands us. You know, Jesus was also on earth, and the shortest verse in the Bible is Jesus wept. You know, when He was crying about Lazarus and about the impact of death on us as humans. He even took death on Himself at the cross so that He could bring resurrection life. So when you're in that place, know that for a season your emotions will be like up and down wave. And you'll go through a time where you feel like you're just drowning. And sometimes your head is above water. But the sun is rising, it's not setting. And as you talk to the Lord and you talk to people and you start to continue to do life, continue to do things, even though you don't feel like they're doing it. Sometimes withdraw a bit, but don't withdraw for too long. Try to continue doing those things that you know to be good for you. So maybe you can start journaling, writing about these things. Start watching programs or even films that you know to be encouraging. Go to church, listen to sermons, read books that encourage you and that stir you and that lift you up. Go to nature, do art, express yourself, continue to exercise. Try not to go into the either ors. Too much eating, too little eating, too much sleeping, too little sleeping. Try to maintain balance. And especially with missing a spouse, it is important to be honest about it, but to try to break the loneliness. If you've a friend or a family member who's lost a spouse, try to be there for them and hear how you can help them. Ask them and pray for them. Continue to pray for them and continue to be there. My wife supported a friend of hers who lost a spouse for 1 year. More than a year actually. She went there once a week in a regular time. She had a regular date with her fixed to go and visit her. And just spend time in her presence, listening, supporting, just giving her TLC. You can even help with practical things, maybe some admin, maybe food, whatever is needed, but be there in the long run. So it's not easy to lose a spouse because it's a life mate, a friend. But the possibility is there of more friends in life. You've loved once, you can love again. But you might not feel like that now, and that's fine. Give yourself time. But remember that you still have a purpose on earth, and the Lord is still with you, even though you might not feel like it. And even though it might seem like there's no purpose, there is a purpose. And as you continue, your life will actually turn and you will see how you can still integrate with people around you and make a difference. please go and visit our website, mattersofthesoul.org, or watch our other videos, the longer versions of living with loss, so that you can gain more inputs on how to cope and the various latest research on grieving and bereavement. God bless you. See you again.